The date is October 7th, 1944. The location is the industrial heart of the Nazi genocide machine, Auschwitz-Birkenau. From the air, it looks like a sprawling city. It covers 40 square kilometers of marshy Polish countryside. It has its own train station, its own factories, its own economy. But the primary output of this city is death. The air is thick with a smell that no one who survives it will ever forget. The cloying, sweet stench of burning flesh mixed with the sulfurous choke of low-grade coal. The chimneys of the 4 massive crematoria, numbered 2, 3, 4, and V, belch black smoke into the autumn sky 24 hours a day. The statistics of this place are numbing. By this late stage in the war, the efficiency of the slaughter has reached its peak. The Hungarian action is concluding. Nearly 400,000 people have been murdered in less than 3 months. The average lifespan of a prisoner selected for labor is roughly 90 days. For those selected for the gas, it is measured in minutes. But deep inside the wire, within the shadow of the chimneys, something is happening that the German High Command believes is impossible. The Reichsfuhrer SS, Heinrich Himmler, has declared this camp to be the most secure facility in the Third Reich. He believes the prisoners are too starved, too broken, and too terrified to lift a finger in resistance. He believes his system of total dehumanization has stripped them of the capacity for organized violence. What he didn't know, what none of the thousands of SS guards patrolling the perimeter with MP-40 submachine guns could possibly suspect, is that the machinery of their own destruction is being assembled right under their noses. There is no Allied Special Forces team parachuting in to save the day. There are no commandos waiting in the woods. The threat is walking through the main gate of the camp at this very moment. It is a young woman named Estera Wajcblum. She is 20 years old. She weighs less than 90 pounds. She wears the striped, lice-infested uniform of a slave laborer. And as she shuffles past the guard tower, keeping her head down to avoid eye contact, she is carrying a secret that could get her hanged instantly. To the bored SS guard scanning the line of exhausted women, she looks unremarkable. Perhaps she looks a little swollen around the midsection, a common symptom of starvation edema, or perhaps, he thinks, a pregnancy that has somehow gone unnoticed. He waves her through. He has just made a fatal error. Estera is not pregnant. The bulge around her waist is not a child, and it is not fluid. It is a canvas pouch strapped tight against her skin, filled with the one thing the prisoners of Auschwitz are never supposed to possess: high-grade, military-industrial explosives. This is not a story of a sudden, impulsive act of bravery. It is the story of a slow, agonizing, and mathematically precise operation to bleed the Nazi war machine of its own, ammunition, grain by grain, and turn it into a weapon of liberation. This is the story of the gunpowder plot that blew the roof off the Holocaust. To understand why a 20-year-old girl would strap a bomb to her stomach and walk past a German shepherd, we have to understand the terrifying reality of late 1944. The war is turning. On the Western Front, the Allies have taken Paris and are pushing toward the German border. In the East, the Red Army is grinding through Poland. The Nazis know the end is coming. But instead of slowing down the killing, they accelerate it. They are in a frantic race to erase the evidence of their crimes before the world finds them. At the center of this frantic erasure is the Sonderkommando. These are the special units, Jewish prisoners forced under penalty of immediate death to operate the gas chambers and crematoria. They are the most tragic figures of the Holocaust. They are forced to usher their own people into the changing rooms, to sort the clothes of the dead, and to haul the bodies to the ovens. They are the witnesses to the ultimate crime. And because they are witnesses, the SS has a strict policy. No Sonderkommando survives. Every few months, the entire unit is liquidated, murdered, and replaced by a fresh batch of prisoners who know nothing. By October 1944, the men of the current Sonderkommando, Unit 12, know their time is up. They have seen the signs. The transports are slowing down. The guards are becoming more erratic. Rumors are swirling through the camp underground that the SS is preparing to blow up the crematoria to hide the evidence and execute every last member of the special squads. The men of Unit 12, led by fierce, desperate leaders like Yakov Kaminsky and Yankel Handelsman, decide that they will not go to the slaughter like sheep. They want to fight. They want to launch a total uprising, destroy the gas chambers, kill every SS man they can find, and break out into the forests. But they have a catastrophic problem. Logistics. A revolt requires weapons. The Sonderkommando has access to axes, knives, and iron bars. In close quarters, these are deadly. But the Auschwitz-Birkenau complex is surrounded by electric fences, watchtowers with MG-42 machine guns, and a garrison of 3,000 heavily armed SS troops. Attacking that force with axes is not a battle. It is a mass suicide. They need a force multiplier. They need explosives. The experts within the camp's underground resistance, the Camp Military Council, comprised mostly of Polish political prisoners and Russian POWs, tell them it's impossible. They analyze the situation with cold military logic. The only explosives in the camp are stored in the SS armory, which is impenetrable, or in the Weichsel Union Metallwerke factory. The Union factory is a massive industrial complex located on the perimeter of Auschwitz III Monowitz. It is a crucial vein in the German war effort, producing fuses for artillery shells. It is a fortress within a fortress. The workers there are subjected to the most rigorous security screenings of any labor detail. They are searched upon entering. They are searched upon leaving. They are watched by female SS overseers, the Aufseherinnen, who are notorious for their cruelty. The consensus among the hardened military men in the resistance is clear. You cannot smuggle gunpowder out of a Nazi munitions plant. The grains are too fine, the searches too thorough, and the penalty too severe. If one person is caught, the SS won't just kill the smuggler. They will execute the entire shift and likely decimate the prisoner population of the barracks. The risk-to-reward ratio is unacceptable. So, the men of war, the soldiers and partisans, abandon the idea. They look for other ways, begging the Polish Home Army outside the wire for weapons drops that never come. They are paralyzed by the impossibility of the task. The stakes are total. Annihilation. The Sonderkommando is running out of time. They need a miracle. They need someone who doesn't know the meaning of impossible. They don't need soldiers. They need someone the Nazis won't see coming. This is where the professionals fail, and the amateurs step in. Estera Wajcblum is not a soldier. She has never held a rifle. Before the war, she was just a teenager in Warsaw, living a life of school books and family dinners. Now, she is prisoner 48177. Her credentials for a special operations mission are non-existent. She works in the Pulverraum, the powder room of the Union factory. Her job is mind-numbing and dangerous. 12 hours a day, she stands at a workbench, filling the tiny detonator caps of anti-aircraft shells with black gunpowder. It is delicate work. One slip, one spark, and she could lose a hand or her life. She works alongside a small group of other young Jewish women, her younger sister Hannah, and their friends Regina Safirstein and Alla Gertner. Alla is slightly older, more worldly, a woman who had been deported from the Bedzin ghetto. She is the moral anchor of the group. For months, these women labor under the eyes of the enemy. They watch the black grains of powder, the Schwarzpulver, spill onto the tables. They wipe it up with rags. They see it as the substance that is killing Allied soldiers on the front lines. They hate it. They hate the factory. They hate the fact that their forced labor is propping up the regime that murdered their families. The moment of insight doesn't come from a military strategist. It comes from a friendship. Estera is friends with a woman named Rosa Robota. Rosa is a legend in the camp underground. She doesn't work in the factory. She works in the Bekleidungskammer, the clothing depot where the possessions of the gassed victims are sorted. Because of her position, Rosa operates as a hub of information. She has made contact with the men of the Sonderkommando. She knows they are planning a revolt. She knows they are desperate for explosives. One evening, in the shadowed corner of the barracks, Rosa approaches Estera. The request is terrifyingly simple. "The men need the powder," she whispers. "Can you get it?" Estera looks at her hands. They are stained gray from the graphite and sulfur. She realizes that the military experts are wrong. The experts look at the factory and see a fortress. Estera looks at the factory and sees a sieve. She realizes that the sheer volume of production, thousands of shells a day, creates waste. There is powder everywhere, on the floor, on the benches, in the rejected fuses. But more importantly, Estera realizes that her lack of credentials is her greatest camouflage. The Nazis don't see her as a threat. To the SS, she is just a unit of production. She is a Häftling, a prisoner. They don't believe a starving Jewish girl has the mental capacity or the courage to sabotage the Third Reich. Their arrogance is their blind spot. Estera looks at Rosa. She thinks of her family, already gone up the chimney. She thinks of the futility of dying of starvation. She realizes that she is holding the keys to the crematorium in her dirty hands every single day. "I can do it," she says, "but I can't do it alone." She recruits Regina. She recruits Alla. She recruits her sister. They form a cell. They have no code names, no radios, no rank, just a shared pact. They are going to steal the fire from the gods, and they are going to burn the temple down. The secret workshop where they develop their method is the factory latrine. It is the only place in the Union factory where the SS guards do not follow them. In the brief, stolen minutes of a bathroom break, Estera and Regina huddle together, whispering over the mechanics of smuggling. The challenge is physical. How do you move loose powder? You can't put it in your pocket. It will leak, leaving a trail like a cartoon fuse leading straight back to you. You can't hold it in your hand. They improvise a crude prototype. They scavenge scraps of cloth, bits of old headscarves, lining torn from their coats. In the darkness of the barracks at night, using needles made from bone splinters or stolen wire, they sew small pouches. They are tiny, roughly the size of a coin purse or a tea bag. The collection process is agonizingly slow. It is a game of millimeters. Inside the pulverraum, Estera waits. She waits for the Aufseherin to turn her back, to yell at another prisoner. She waits for the moment the foreman is distracted. In that split second, she uses a small spoon, or sometimes just her cupped hand, to sweep the spilled powder from her workbench into a small container hidden in her sleeve. It's a teaspoon here, a teaspoon there. If she is caught, it is immediate death. Not just death, but a public hanging to set an example. Every time she sweeps the powder, her heart hammers against her ribs. But the genius of their plan lies in the concealment. Once the small container is full, they go to the latrine. They transfer the powder into the cloth pouches. Then, they tie the pouches around their bodies. They wrap them high up on the thighs, or more often, around their waists, securing them with strips of rag. They put their loose, striped prison dresses back on. The reaction from the other prisoners who aren't in on the plot is fear. "That is illegal," one whispers, seeing the bulge. "That is crazy. They will see it." Estera looks in the cracked mirror of the washroom. The pouches create a distended silhouette. It looks like a pregnancy. In any other context, a pregnancy in Auschwitz is a death sentence. Pregnant women are sent immediately to the gas. But here, in the labor camp, the guards are desensitized to the strange shapes of starving bodies. Bodies swell with hunger edema. They bloat with disease. The guards are trained to look for weapons, for metal, for contraband, food. They are not looking for lumpy wastes on starving girls. The first test of the system is the most terrifying moment of Estera's life. The whistle blows. The shift ends. The column of women lines up to march back to the camp. They approach the main gate. The searchlights are blinding. The SS guards stand with their dogs, Mützen ab, hats off. The command rings out. Estera marches. She can feel the granular friction of the gunpowder pouches rubbing against her skin. It feels like she is carrying a burning coal. She approaches the checkpoint. A female guard, an Officerin, with a whip on her belt, steps forward. She runs her hands down the prisoner in front of Estera. She finds a piece of stolen bread. She beats the woman senseless. Estera is next. She steps forward. She forces her face to be a mask of exhaustion and submission. She pushes her stomach out slightly, letting the pouches settle. The guard looks at her. Her eyes scan Estera's thin frame. She sees a wretched creature, barely human. She waves her hand. "Los! Move!" Estera walks through. She struggles to keep her knees from buckling. She has done it. She has just walked a lethal amount of explosives out of a Nazi fortress. She meets Rosa Rabata's eyes in the camp. The transfer is made. The first teaspoon of the revolution has arrived. The smuggling operation runs for nearly 8 months. It becomes a routine of terror. Grain by grain, pouch by pouch, the women of the Union factory move the explosives. They pass the powder to Rosa Rabata. Rosa passes it to the Sonderkommando men, often hiding it in the carts used to transport the bodies of the dead. A grim irony that the dead are smuggling the means of vengeance for the living. But as the stockpile grows, a new conflict erupts. This time, it's not against the Germans, but within the prisoner resistance itself. The Camp Military Council, the overarching resistance leadership, is cautious. They are listening to the BBC broadcasts on illegal radios. They know the Red Army is close. Their strategy is to wait. Wait for the front to collapse, they argue. Wait for the Russians to bomb the wire. If we rise up now, we will all be slaughtered. They view the Sonderkommando as a liability. They refuse to authorize the general uprising. They order the Sonderkommando to hold their fire. The room erupts in the clandestine meetings of the Sonderkommando leadership. Men like Kaminsky are furious. They slam their fists on the wooden bunks. "You can afford to wait," they scream at the political prisoners. "You are in the labor barracks. You might survive another month. We are in the death block. We are scheduled for the ovens next week. We do not have the luxury of strategy." The confrontation reaches its breaking point when Rosa Rabata delivers a message from the women. The girls in the factory are risking their lives every single day. They are asking, "Why are we doing this? Why are we walking through fire if you are just going to let the powder sit in a jar?" The expert consensus of the council is overruled by the sheer primal will of the condemned men. A maverick leader within the Sonderkommando, likely Kaminsky, makes the final decision. He cuts ties with the cautious bureaucracy of the main camp. "We do not wait for permission," he declares. "We fight alone." The decision is made. The powder is distributed. Inside the crematoria, the men get to work. They don't have shell casings, so they improvise. They take empty sardine tins, garbage scavenged from the SS mess. They fill the tins with Estera's powder. They use rocks and scrap metal as shrapnel. They fashion crude fuses from torn clothing dipped in chemicals. These are not military-grade weapons. They are desperate, ugly, homemade bombs, but they are tested. In the deep bowels of the crematorium, a Sonderkommando engineer lights a pinch of the smuggled powder. It flares with a violent, hot hiss. "It works," he whispers. The validation is complete. The numbers add up. They have enough powder for dozens of grenades. They have hammers. They have axes. And they have the rage of 10,000 murdered souls. The courage it took to smuggle that powder is unimaginable. If you want to honor these forgotten heroes, hit that subscribe button. We are dedicated to telling the stories of WWII that history books left out. Join our community and help us keep these memories alive. October 7th, 1944. A Saturday. The sky is low and gray. The tension in the Sonderkommando barracks is electric. The SS has just announced a transfer. 300 men are to be selected for a transport. Everyone knows what this is a euphemism for. They are being taken to a nearby forest to be executed. This is the trigger. At 1:25 p.m., the SS guards enter the courtyard of Crematorium IV to begin the selection. They are relaxed. They are smoking cigarettes, their weapons slung over their shoulders. They shout names, expecting the usual compliance. Instead, they get a war cry. Hurrah! The scream tears from hundreds of throats. Inside the crematorium, a prisoner lights the fuse on one of the sardine tin grenades. He winds up and hurls it. The explosion is not a Hollywood fireball. It is a sharp, concussive crack that shakes the foundations of the building. But then, the secondary effect kicks in. The blast ignites the furnace room. The pressure builds instantly. With a deafening roar, the roof of Crematorium IV is blown into the sky. Bricks, mortar, and iron rain down on the SS guards. The fake pregnancy powder has just done what the Allied air forces failed to do for 5 years. It has physically destroyed a gas chamber. Chaos engulfs the sector. The Sonderkommando men charge the SS guards. They don't have rifles. They have hammers, pickaxes, and stones. But they have the element of total surprise. Unterscharführer Rudolf Erler is caught in the open. He is swarmed and killed. Rottenführer. Willy Fries is struck down. A third guard falls. The prisoners seize their weapons. Now, Blakesley levels his P-47. Wait, this isn't an air war. This is hand-to-hand combat in the mud. The prisoners cut the barbed wire fences. They are running. Hundreds of them stream out into the fields, heading for the tree line. At Crematorium II, a mile away, the prisoners see the column of smoke rising from Crematorium IV. They see the flames licking the sky. It is the signal. They attack their own guards. They grab the Oberkapo, a brutal collaborator, and throw him alive into the burning oven. The German reaction is swift and merciless. The camp alarm sirens wail, a sound that usually freezes the blood of every prisoner, but today it sounds like victory. Truckloads of SS troops with heavy machine guns surround the area. They set up blocking positions. The kill ratios are tragic, but the resistance is fierce. The escaped prisoners are hunted down in the fields. They fight until they run out of ammunition. Then they fight with rocks. 451 members of the Sonderkommando are killed that day. But let's look at the after statistics. The Nazis crushed the revolt, yes, but they have lost the battle of logistics. Crematorium IV is a ruin. It is structurally unsound. The Nazis never repair it. It never kills again. For the remaining 3 months of the camp's existence, the killing capacity of Auschwitz-Birkenau is permanently reduced by 25%. How many lives is that? If that building killed 2,000 people a day, and it sat broken for 90 days. The math suggests that tens of thousands of people might have been spared the gas simply because the line was too long, the machinery was broken, and the Nazis ran out of time before the Soviets arrived. The lives saved weren't saved by a general strategy. They were saved by Estera Wajcblum's waistline. This story is a reminder that resistance takes many forms. If this incredible act of bravery moved you, please share this video. Let's make sure everyone knows the names of Estera, Rosa, Alla, and Regina, and let us know in the comments, what is the most daring act of resistance you've ever heard of? The aftermath is brutal. The SS conducts a vicious investigation. They find traces of the explosives. They analyze the chemical composition. It is Schwarzpulver, fine-grain artillery powder. It could only come from one place, the Union factory. They torture the Sonderkommando survivors. Finally, names are leaked. Not out of malice, but out of agony. They arrest Estera Wajcblum. They arrest Alla Gertner. They arrest Regina Saffirstein. And they arrest the connector, Rosa Rabata. The 4 women are taken to the bunker, the torture cellar of Block 11. For weeks, they are subjected to treatment that is unspeakable. The SS wants the network. They want to know who else was involved. They want to find the other smugglers. But here is the final victory of the hero. Estera, the girl with no credentials, holds out. She admits to stealing the powder. She admits to giving it to Rosa. But she refuses to name anyone else. She protects her sister, Hannah. She protects the other girls on the line. She takes the full weight of the Nazi Empire on her small shoulders, and she does not break. On January 6, 1945, less than 3 weeks before the Red Army liberates the camp, the execution is ordered. It is the last public hanging in the history of Auschwitz. The women of the Union factory are forced to assemble. They watch as their friends are led to the gallows. The scene is somber, but it is not defeatist. These women know what they did. They look out at the shivering, terrified crowd. Rosa Rabata does not beg for mercy. She does not cry. She lifts her head. She locks eyes with her comrades and shouts her final words. They are not a plea. They are a command. Hazak v'amatz. It is Hebrew. Be strong and have courage. Alla Gertner leaves a note found later in her dress. I am going to die now, but I am not afraid. What I did for the people. I know that my death will not be in vain. The trapdoors open. The women die. But they were right. Their death was not in vain. Today, if you visit the site of Auschwitz-Birkenau, you can walk through the ruins of the gas chambers. You can see the rubble of Crematorium IV. That rubble is not just the result of time. It is the result of the sardine tin bombs. It is a physical monument to the fact that the Jews of Auschwitz did not go like sheep to the slaughter. Production numbers from the Weichsel-Union Metallwerke later revealed another secret. The fake pregnancy smugglers hadn't just stolen powder. They had deliberately tampered with the fuses they were assembling. It is estimated that thousands of German artillery shells fired on the Eastern Front failed to detonate. Duds manufactured by the quiet sabotage of Estera's group. The modern legacy of these women is profound. They redefine the image of the war hero. We are used to seeing heroes as men with jawlines and medals, but the greatest blow against the architecture of the Holocaust was struck by 4 young women with teaspoons and scraps of cloth. They taught us a moral lesson that echoes through the decades. You do not need an army to fight evil. You do not need permission to do what is right. Sometimes, All you need is a little bit of powder and a hell of a lot of courage. Because of them, the machine broke. Because of them, we remember. Be strong and have courage.